All right. Well, okay. I'll kick it off because everyone's here, and a warm welcome to the November Houston Azure User Group. My name is Adam Hems, and that is really annoying. Man, I wish I knew where that was coming from. I don't think it's you, is it? You're muted.
Yeah, completely.
No matter. I'll manage. So, a warm welcome to those of you who don't know me. I'm the lead of the Houston Azure User Group. Have been since 2015, and so this is my hobby, if you will. Yeah, we're having technology issues, which I knew while we're having an echo.
Didn't join on the phone, did you?
Yeah, he's got his speakers muted, right?
Yeah.
It really sounds like it's coming from.
Oh, is his volume off?
Yeah, volume down. Yeah.
You know what it is? If you mute your mic.
Yeah.
Is your mic muted?
But then the other people can't hear it.
The room is what we're listening to.
Oh, okay.
These green.
The mic is muted as well. Well, I can just put the Skype. I mean the Teams, and then we got the room. That might work, right?
Well, it's just
I
go.
still hear an echo on
leave
your
it.
machine.
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. Let's see if that works. Then I can still present. Yeah, that's better. But they don't see me, but
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay. The room can still hear us.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's try that again. All right. Another warm welcome. It worked. No more echo. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Fine. Technology is great when it works. So okay. A warm welcome once again. So this user group is my day job is as a cloud architect with Microsoft. Has been now for 15 years this month.
Cool.
So it's yeah. It's been fun. I've done this role as a cloud architect for 7 years now, so I've seen a lot of cloud journeys, customers large and small, many of whom, maybe most of, actually, probably in the Houston area where I live. I live in Katy, and part of my job, my day job, is to work with folks, technology folks like yourselves, right? On the cloud journey from the very beginning to, hey, we're on-prem, don't have a clue, guess we're doing this Azure thing, or maybe in some cases, I'm new to the job market. I'm a student. I'm looking for a career change. Guess I want to do this Azure thing. Two folks who are very advanced and ask the most insanely complex, weedy questions about why something, what the best way to do something. It covers the whole gamut, right? But one thing that I think is missing that I wanted to do with this group is the ability for folks on that same cloud journey from different industries, from different backgrounds, to learn from one another. And that's one of the intents of this group. Hopefully you have a chance to chat a little bit, meet one another, learn from each other, because we're all doing different cloud journeys. And so that's part of the intent, and not something I get to do as part of my day job. So hence, it's my hobby, because we're all here to learn. Everyone here to learn. If you're here because you're like a sales pitch, absolutely 100% the wrong place. This is not a sales pitch. This is just here to learn about some cool technology, some stuff you can do with it from presenter, which is tonight is Shas. I'll hand to you in just a minute.
Sure.
One special call out that I want to make is the food was sponsored by Avanade tonight, which is nice of them. Microsoft don't
Thank
pay
you.
for it. Yeah, they let me use the room. Thank you. Yes. It's a few $100, right? And that we don't have to pay for out of our own pockets, which is nice. So yes, we appreciate that. They have a floor on the 8th floor, and we work with them a lot. So yes, special thanks to them for choosing to pay for our food. All right. With that, I'm going to hand to Shas, who is a colleague of mine who stepped up to volunteer to talk tonight. Shas, I'll just hand it to you, man.
Thank you, Adam. Welcome, everybody. My name is Shas Vaddi, like Adam mentioned. I'm a cloud solution architect as well. So welcome to Houston Azure Group. So this evening topic is, as you know, Azure Cognitive Services and OpenAI. So in case if you're wondering why we're calling out OpenAI while it is part of the Cognitive Services, because it's very new, right? So although OpenAI itself being separate entity and you can access all the APIs, it's now you can combine the power of Azure cloud and then and scale it to the enterprise level. So with that said, let's look at the agenda. We'll next 1.5, 2 hours, we'll go through a quick intro and AI solution before really digging into cognitive services. What makes an AI solution and what are the AI key capabilities, right?
And let's make it interactive. Let's
Sure.
bug Shaz with lots and lots of questions.
Sure, feel free
Yeah,
to.
this is not a boring monologue, right? We're here to learn. No stupid questions. It's all good. And
Absolutely.
the folks online, your mics are on a light up if you want, or put messages in the chat, and I'll try and keep an eye out for them.
Thank you, Adam. Right on. Yeah, so feel free to raise any question anytime, although we carved out a couple of minutes for a Q&A at the end. Just let me know, just raise. And often, like Adam mentioned, the tacit knowledge is only, externalized when we meet in a social gathering. So just feel free to, raise any questions, and that's how we learn from each other, right? So moving to cognitive services, we will explore, few capabilities related to vision, speech, and language decision, and then of course OpenAI, which is in preview.
What does that mean?
So basically, if you are looking to experiment, generally the features are not fully available as widely like generally available services. In this case, it's a little more unique, right? OpenAI, what Microsoft trying to do is make sure we all use AI services responsibly. You heard the phrase, great power comes with a great responsibility, right? With the AI, you can do quite incredible things. And
Are they charging for OpenAI?
so while it isn't for you, that's a great question. It's free for now. And once it's GA, then the charges will start. So Microsoft hasn't confirmed when is it going to be available. So it's time to apply. There is actually a process that you have to go through. There's a 25, 30 questions that you have to answer, and what use cases that you're going to use it. Then Microsoft approves it after 2 to 3 weeks, generally. So I already went ahead and applied for that, so we can really explore those features.
Is that a library or is it a compute?
I'm sorry, what was it?
Is that library or is it compute?
So yeah, so that's a great question. It is an API that is, Pulse, that you don't have to train. It's already pre-trained.
Oh, okay.
So you don't need a compute. That's a great question. That's one of the benefit of OpenAI is why would I need to use it when I have all the pre-built APIs from Microsoft, right? So these are already pre-trained and ready to go. But if you have,
Behind the scene, you will have compute.
yeah,
That's right.
and then if you're not happy with the results, you can bring your own data and then train the models on your data and then
Gotcha.
deploy it as well. So both are available. In that case, you will start
It's a
your
library
charges.
in that case.
Right. Any questions on OpenAI before moving to the further agenda? All right. So then we will explore real business scenarios, one of the reference architecture, 1 or 2, and and what's the AI strategy in enterprises. And then we'll do a hands-on demo. My mouse is working, so I'm not going to touch the setup right here. So hopefully it will continue to work. And then we'll take a Q&A, and then what are the learning resources? Like Adam mentioned earlier, feel free to raise any questions. And it's going to be a lot of fun stuff that I've collected some of the business cases that I'm working on. So without getting into the customer names, we will explore some use cases and then see where it goes.
Some real world use cases.
Yep.
Not Contoso this time.
And Litware, right?
Yeah, or Litware, that's right.
Yeah, we'll probably reference them hypothetically. So just a little bit intro. Being a database consultant, administrator, director of architecture and development. And then I was also a customer success manager working with IBM, focusing on data and AI in the industrial sector for the last 20 plus years. So I've also worked in financial sectors and regulatory compliances, FinIT. I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer for the last 4 years, focusing on data and AI. And Microsoft family, my wife is here, Kim Vaddi, right there. So she is a cloud solution architect herself. And I've included a couple links here. So whenever I get some free time, I write articles on Medium and Penn State. I did my enterprise architecture, so I write articles on Penn State and train students. And LinkedIn connection. So love to connect with folks. Please feel free to connect. And occasionally I write articles and talk about technology. So moving to the AI solution. So what makes an AI solution? Ray, you mentioned earlier, data and analytics and information, right?
Right.
So to call it AI solution, it is not like something, hey, our competitor come up with a product, let's go develop next week, we'll release AI product, right? It's not going to work like that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Adam. That's great. So data comes in many forms and shapes: structured, unstructured, semi-structured, and it comes in real time or in a batch process called Lambda architecture, right? So you have to have resources to harness that and automatically, right? Again, you're right on about cloud computing, right? Harness that. So scale up resources. If the data is coming in petabytes, cloud is the way to go to capture that, and then process that, right? And store so that analytics can be derived from the data, such as predictive, prescriptive, and descriptive analytics. And then now comes the part where AI solution, to build an AI solution for your data that you have, you cleanse the data, process the data, ready for consumption. Now comes the machine learning and deep learning, and those are really takes a while for enterprises and organizations to process them and keep up with that, right? Technologies. That's where the Azure data AI plays a key role to accelerate that journey. So apologies if the screen is not big here. So what are those AI key capabilities that an AI solution should have, right? Speech, language, vision, data stream, smell, and touch. So are all those really fully matured, or what are those key capabilities that we can implement, either using cloud or no cloud, in general for any AI solution, right? So we're still evolving, right? Smell and touch. So still some of them are, IBM, for example, researching about machine that can detect smell from a patient and then tell what kind of cancer, if there is any, if the person is sick. But those are still in the research areas, right? But if you look at the vision, it is already productionized in many industries, and language, speech. So we will explore those and then how Azure AI addressing those. And then we'll go to the portal and then deploy the resources and then see how we can build a quick AI solution for the demo purposes. So here is Azure AI stack. Split into 3 sections. The middle part is where we're going to focus Azure Cognitive Services. Azure Applied AI Services, in general, they are conversational intelligence, such as chatbot and other such, inject Q&A type question and answering. Document intelligence, such as like read the documents and extract the content. And then ambient intelligence, how machines behave in the presence of people, humans, right? And like industrial site, if you go, there are safety precautions that folks follow, sometimes not, right? So how AI can be leveraged in those scenarios. And then the last one is decision intelligence. But we're not going to touch those. We'll focus on Azure Cognitive Services. And then if we have any time, then we'll see how we can integrate those two. Machine learning platform is something that, you can build pipelines, responsible AI, and then we will see if there is a little bit of time, then we will explore. Just a quick question. Are there any specific areas in the cognitive services that y'all want to go a little deep? I'm thinking vision is one that we can really go, but if you have any things specific, we can explore those.
I was kind of looking at the speech side just to get, and it's not if it's any good or not, but I laid the big questions with my church, and I thought about having it kind of, decipher everyone's feelings about things from the speech, see if they changed during a
Sentiment
meeting.
analysis.
Yeah, sentiment analysis, just
Right.
off of what they say, have them fill something out, kind of a slider to see, and then see if it really agrees, and see if they've changed their mind throughout the meeting. Anyway, just an idea.
That's a great use case. I love it.
That new one.
Yeah.
And my basic feeling is why even bother with the analytics and the information if it's not to help somebody or something make a decision?
Right. Absolutely. Great. So moving to next, Azure Cognitive Services. So we've talked about this. It's basically a comprehensive set of APIs for vision, speech, language, and decision. And then those can be deployed anywhere from the cloud to the edge with the containers. And then built easily. So if you are a developer that very comfortable with Python or Go, Node.js, or C#, or if you prefer, want to stick to GUI, both can be done. So in our demo here, we will stick to portal and then see how we can deploy these and then make use of services. So the very first one, computer vision. So it's uses visual data processing to label the content. And it gathers the metadata about images such as brand detection and then landmarks. and then type of the image, and what domain it belongs to, if it is a FinIP or if it is industrial, and then it will give you that metadata using the computer vision. And then if there is any text in the images, that it also extracts those text and then stores in a storage to mine the data. And understands people movement, that is spatial analysis pretty much. And then so if there is any safety violations, or if you are tracking regulatory compliance related, those can be implemented as well. And on the vision, so there are two types of services. One is computer vision, here is custom vision. And what's the difference between computer vision and custom vision? Basically, computer vision is something that you know the use case, and then you can take advantage of pre-built services and models. But if you have a unique case that none of the computer vision services address, then you opt for go for custom vision. So so there are quite a few use cases here that we can explore. But if you have, let's say this is, you're going to teach machine, right? You have lots of images, and then you're going to train the model that this is a cat, this is a dog, and you want to apply that massive scale, right? So similarly themed images that you can train the model and then predict at scale. And then you can detect the objects as they overlap. So if you have a multi-label in one image, right? So that means more than one image, then you can do a segmentation to detect that the overlay. So in a nutshell,
can you give examples of those objects like desk and chair and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like if you're a person riding a horse, right? So you have two living beings in there. So you can separate those using segmentation. And like you said, Adam, so sitting on a chair, so you want to separate the chair and then human. So you can use the segmentation to detect those.
And it describes it too, right?
It describes it.
That's the image classification. So
Right.
What about partial images, a crowd of people where some people are in the front, some people are in the back, so you have only parts of certain people and other parts of other people.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's like thumbnail generation, like you have multiple objects and multiple people, and you can do that, generate multiple thumbnails and pictures, and that's definitely a good use case.
yeah, there's all kinds of very, very interesting use cases. If you start think, the key I think to is that what these services do is relatively simple. If you translate it into how you might use it, like video is just lots of images, right? And split the video up into lots and lots of images and send it to this thing at very high speed and have it do all that processing. It's amazing how when you link all these together, the kinds of business problems that it can solve, it gets really interesting. And I hope we get a chance to brainstorm some of the coolness that we've done with some of these things.
Yeah.
The OCR one is one that actually some of the folks I've been working with is one of the most powerful, because that's ancient, right? Optical character, how long has that been around? But be able to do that at scale from things like video, or just huge amounts of images, just millions and millions of them in real time, or from cameras, being able to do OCR and then sentiment analysis of the OCR all in real time from lots of video feeds. What can you do with that? It gets crazy. Anyway, sorry, Shas.
No, you're right on. That's what the beauty of Lambda architecture. It's streaming data and then batch data, right? And harnessing the power of cloud using, to meet those business objectives, right? So
what I found is that an understanding of like some of these basic capabilities leads to solutions to business problems that, okay, I can think how that, is not a problem you knew you had, but suddenly I could use this to help solve a business problem I didn't know I have, if that makes sense. So rather than I've got a problem, how do I solve it? Understand this technology, I could do that with it. Holy crap, that kind of thing.
absolutely,
Yeah.
that's cognitive enterprise, right? So your strategy drives your business, and your business drives technology. But once you finish one or two iterations, your technology start aiding your business use cases and resolving it. So absolutely, right on, Adam.
So what is the underpin technology, like what exactly it uses, in the sense, like some techniques, for example, what do you call that, neuron points, like, like the deep neuron.
Deep learning and
Deep learning.
yeah.
Is that what it is?
So some of the services are deep learning. Some of them are CNN. Yeah, and then so it's a cognitive neural networks, and then convolutional neural networks. Sorry. And it's an AI is a big umbrella, right? Under that you have a machine learning, and if you go deep, you have a deep learning, and then neural networks.
Yeah, like layers of.
Exactly. It goes to pixel level and then compare it. But you're right on, yeah. So it really fascinating concept, right?
So is this the only one technology in the behind, like, for example, I'm giving an example, like you have a graph and you want to find what's the mathematical equation of that graph. Is it possible to do?
So that's a great question, right? So Microsoft, what trying to do is if you, it's great that to dig into that level, but without, really going that level, you can democratize AI, right? So one of my coworker that I worked with shared a very inspiring story that this person built a AI chatbot that conversational, and he's a janitor, right? And it's a true story, and it's published on Microsoft use cases. So he pretty much looked at the some of the cognitive services and Power Platform. That's what I'm looking for. What's the name that he used to combine all these services and build a chatbot to kind of like deploy it in any language that you can ask a question, and it will reply back in that language. So chatbot supports Microsoft Power Platform over 100 languages. So it was really inspiring, right? So anybody can pick up, and the documentation is great. And there's $150 credit from Microsoft. You can deploy cloud resources. That's exactly what he did, right? And pull the document and then deploy the solution. And it was quite inspiring. So I learned robotic process automation, having never touched before. So that's those are like the great stories that Microsoft wants to democratize AI, right? So anybody can build an AI system with the tools and then people and processes, right? But yeah, that's a great question. To really dig deep, I think for those, I would really explore APIs and then see Python or Go and Visual Studio or code. I use code often, and then there are endpoints that you can make use of, and then keys and then start building your own using these services.
So if you have like a custom data set of some custom images, that can be, you can just grab your custom data set, label it and put it into here.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's the pain point, right? So you have to go through labeling it. If you have petabytes of data, so you don't have to label every single one of them. I would generally split 70, 20, and 10, and I keep the 70 for my I'm sorry, 20 for training data and 10 for validation and 70 for prediction.
Okay.
So if my 20% is coming anywhere close to 85% accuracy, that's great, right? So this involves a lot of human intervention initially, and which we will go through. I have a very good use case, and then we can use that. It's a corrosion detection basically in oil and gas companies.
And the larger the data set that you're investigating, the smaller percentage of data points you actually need to use to train the machine.
That's right. More the merrier.
So out of the box, like what kind of, classification can you do, like people, animals?
Yeah, you can do people, animals, and landmarks.
Famous people as
Industrial,
well.
famous people, definitely, yeah. And famous landmarks. Industrial wise, there are certain items that you can pick. Hey, my objects and all these are related to oil and gas.
Yeah.
Or if it is financial related. And one of the use case that we used that I've learned is that if now with most folks trading at home because of COVID and all that. So I've learned if you have a TD Ameritrade and all those institutions, if they are selling anything related to money printed on their options or anything, that is a huge violation. So for them to go through each and every document, okay, this document is good, we can release it to the public, or in their prospectus or anything, right? So they get fined if they have money or coins in their documents that they release it to public. So basically, it's like they're promoting that, hey, can get rich and this and that, right? So those are FINRA violations, right? So it's impossible to go through it. They use custom vision type services to run the data through the services and then mark them if it is if it require a human intervention to correct it. So that's a good anomaly detection also if the data is coming in streaming or in batch. So, but custom vision is also can be leveraged in those cases.
So the new so the new technology that's out, like not new technology, but the technology that's out like Midjourney and DALL-E 2 and Stable Diffusion, they would fall under this category.
No, they're totally what Microsoft did is completely separated OpenAI, and that's a great question. Created a separate section in the Cognitive Services, but they are part of the Cognitive Services. On top of these Azure services, we can leverage those. I see the reason why you're asking, because there are overlapping capabilities between these two.
Right.
And that's what I was, when I was experimenting, thinking that why do I need to go to OpenAI while I have this, right? We will dig into those in the next couple of slides, but quick question.
Could this detect counterfeiting in the area of NFTs?
Yes, if you train, it's all about the trainer. So if we train the machine to first couple of stages that, hey, this is let's say, bad and good, and then train the machine, it actually start giving you precision, recall, and then based on those, precision is something that you would want to have a high number, so that actually tells you the quality, and then recall and then quantity. So we will explore those as well. Hopefully AI behaves. Sometimes, it's a trainer, right? How we
It's in a
train
Bad
it,
mood.
right? So, yeah, it's all up to how we train. If it is not, if we don't label correctly, then we'll get a crappy results. And it can be very expensive to re-implement it, right? So the Gartner did a study. Most, majority, or the reason why most of the ML models doesn't go to production, it's because of lack of stakeholder alignment, right? So we have a data team, and we have analytics team, AI team, and a cloud team, and then the stakeholder alignment is key to see, okay, so this is the desired accuracy that we want to achieve. Let's go deploy it, right? So sometimes it doesn't live up to the expectations. The accuracy falls up real quick.
I
Right.
thought for a minute that the stakeholders didn't like the results, so they said, we don't want to
We
know
don't want
that.
to ditch it, right? There are scenarios like that I've seen, yeah. All right, moving to, what's the key to, well, let's finish face. So face is another, Adam, like you mentioned, detects celebrities. So it detects if you have pictures with the several folks, it basically captures all the faces, and Windows Hello is actually one of that leverages that, right? So without having to enter the password, you just basically get close to the camera, and then it automatically unlocks your screen, right? So what are the keys to success, right? What makes an AI custom vision or computer vision success? So it's capturing those videos or image files, processing and transforming them, and analyzing it, and then output. If we can, do multiple iterations and achieve the desired accuracy, that's the key, right? And how are we going to do it? Is it image or video or both? And what services that are available that within Azure ecosystem that can be leveraged. So that's the key to make your AI system a success.
I just realized McKenna had a question I forgot. I didn't notice. Sorry, McKenna. Is the underlying technology all Microsoft developed, or does it also use open source tools and algorithms like YOLO v7 object detection?
That's a great question. I would definitely need to get my product team involved, right? But it is Microsoft, some acquire technologies, but really that's a great question for product group to see.
We don't state publicly the answer to that question. But we might be willing to have a private conversation, is perhaps the answer to that as well.
All right. Any other questions in the chat?
No, not right now.
I've got one, and that's in the area of legality. If you're doing comparisons, how do you handle that from a legal perspective? If you have a comparison and it's wrong, you're setting yourselves up, or you're able to set parameters for the quality of the comparison, or you probably had some conversations around that. How do
Absolutely.
you address it?
Yeah,
I
so.
don't even know how to ask the questions.
No, I actually got it. I used to work for a company. It's a regulatory education. So it's the cost of estimating something. We have more folks.
Yeah, a couple of chairs right here. Come on in. Getting full. Might need some more chairs. There's another one there. Welcome.
There's one over there. All right, the question, Bill, right?
Yeah.
So Bill's question is, what's the implications of getting something wrong because of the AI system that we have implemented? And that's a very valid question, right? Maturing, AI in the enterprises, it's not over, it's a month or 2 months or a year, right? It takes time. So you have to have a cognitive enterprise that plan from the acquisition is your data is clean and reliable and ready for consumption. So it involves data engineering. If you build a system on a crappy data, you will get a very crappy results, right? So garbage in, garbage out. It takes entire organizations to get it right? Even in those cases, you continuously have to monitor. Is it accurately predicting? Like our earlier use case that if the financial company somehow misses a document that has money printed in it, right? So that is a violation. And after 3-4 violation, you could lose your license pretty much. So yeah, it is a continuous process. You have to constantly refine. But once you have desired accuracy, and then your data engineering, data acquisition is in place, that is something you have to keep up with the system. Thank you.
So even after you reach a desired level of accuracy, as the system keeps running, you need to keep verifying that you're maintaining your accuracy in order that the results are still correct.
Absolutely, because your underlying data can change. And then, and then if that is the original hypothesis that you've developed, it will change completely because your data is now, telling something different, and you have to look at the precision and recall, and then balance it, and then retrain the model. That is something that can be, automated. And then if your precision falls below certain, that's the time you need to look at the labeling process, and then improve in those areas.
And that can be, at least the notification of that can be automated also.
Absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So does Microsoft provide the data?
I'm sorry, what was it?
Does Microsoft provide data? Like for example, if you want to see the OCR, you may need so much of data. Does Microsoft already have them, or just we have to use the API and it's internal?
Yeah, so I mean, it's the organization's data, right? So it's your data.
So you don't provide.
I mean, for testing purposes, or
Yeah, no, I'm just asking.
yeah, there are sample data sets that you can make use of, like Kaggle, and then other there's lots of other sites that host the data sets that you can download it from.
Gotcha.
But mostly, your organization, if it is like 20, 30 years, you have petabytes of data, right? So,
So I have to upload that and.
yeah. So, and blob storage is really cheap that you could upload. And then there are so many other, services that you can store the data and then make your inferences.
Yeah, so I mean, the question I asked probably is useful for the startups where there is no data. In those cases, how exactly they use it? So,
Yeah, I highly recommend Kaggle. That's where I go to download. And there is another lots of COVID data sets that totally it's not coming to my mind, but if anyone knows, you can go to
National Institutes of Health or
Yeah.
NIH or something like that.
right and download data from there and then start.
Johns Hopkins is one.
Exactly, that's what I was for. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can say that.
right, yeah,
Is that where you go?
yeah, that's right. Kaggle and then John.
oh, oh, gotcha.
And also there's something, the Enron data set that you can try that we used one time.
You say
for,
Enron?
Enron.
I used to work for Enron.
They do have a data set that we used one time for enterprise e-discovery solution.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I know
large
that
scale
system very
ones.
well.
They're trying to do a project for DOJ, so that's what we leverage.
Enron is the reason why I moved to Houston from California, so in '98. All right, so moving to next service, speech. And Glenn, you mentioned earlier about the use case to collect speech from various
Participants in a
participants,
conversation.
right? And
I forget what, Adam had a good term for it.
Sentiment analysis.
I don't know why that term slipped in my mind. But,
that's a great case here. You can collect that and speech to text. You can convert it so into a document, and then text to speech is also can be done, and then mine that data to generate overall sentiment. If it is overall positive or negative.
Angry or sad or
Yeah.
neutral or happy, various things like that.
And a lot of companies do sentiment analysis based on their call centers or comments about them in social media. You can
Absolutely.
get Twitter feeds and look for that kind of stuff, and people do.
Oh, yeah, you go nuts with it, like security cameras, listen live to security cameras, do audio to text on that, and then do sentiment analysis on the audio from your security cameras and look for panic or sounds for like security reasons. So it's, you can
yeah,
just,
security is another
yeah,
area.
you can just
that
go nuts
interests
with
me.
it. It's so powerful. Anyway, sorry.
No, that's right.
I mean, if you collect enough, you can probably profiling that particular person.
That's one
based on
reason.
the
Yes,
mood,
yeah.
Yeah.
The comment, the speech that you actually share with the world.
That's actually the one I'm concerned about, because if you remember Polar Express with Tom Hanks years ago, we're probably pretty close to the point where we could come up with a scenario where somebody, this is the large bank part of me, my life, where you put somebody up to robbing a bank where the person wasn't even there, you just lifted him out of context, put him in front of the bank, or her in front of the bank. No discrimination here. Yeah, and it looks like they're really robbing the bank, and then you're changing the speech using AI to make it sound like,
That's quite
turn
possible.
over the assets, and
Absolutely.
it would be now a lot less recognizable than in the past,
That's definitely
which
concerning.
makes it a threat to all of us.
Yeah, one of the reason why Microsoft is very specific about opening up these powerful services is as part of the responsible AI, you have to specify the use case and how you're going to leverage it. And that's as part of it, Adam, I guess Microsoft stopped selling some of these services to the certain sections of the law enforcement because of to ensure that responsible AI being implemented in those areas, because there is a greater chance of misusing it, right?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I mean, like, is it possible, like Microsoft running in the background, some kind of ethical AI kind of a process where it says that no, this is whatever you're trying to do is moral / ethical or whatever, so that, because keeping the onus on the user just to define the use case and while giving a full freedom to do whatever, especially in this case of AI, is it going on or is under consideration or?
I think, Satya being very transparent, right? So Microsoft is really on top of making sure that this powerful technology being used properly. And as part of that, there's a 3 to 4 weeks thorough vetting process for OpenAI. You have to go through each and every use case and articulate how you're going to use it. Who are your audience? Where are you going to democratize it? Are you going to productionize it? And if you are, what other areas you're going to further expand it? You have to go through all those. For me, that's what I go through, or for anyone to get access to OpenAI. So I would say Microsoft being very keeping tight how these services are going to be leveraged. But to your point, what if I answer everything and then I do something totally different, right? Is Microsoft going to keep tabs on it?
Yep.
Trust but verify, Jenkins.
So that will be.
Remember, you're talking about in the cloud, so the stuff is there.
It's there.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, those are good questions. I was, yeah.
For speaker recognition, I think that's pretty interesting. How much audio sample of somebody's voice would you think?
I have not seen any specific length, but I've used 30 seconds. And it recognized most. And then I've used my own voice and modified some of the parameters to produce it, like angry or sad or happy, or you can modify those and then tune it. And yeah, so 30 seconds I've used, and then I elaborated that to.
Are there any like particular words that you need to say, or just 30 seconds of random speech? Is fine?
Yeah, just random speech.
Okay.
Yeah, it picked it up.
I speak with an accent, and if I'm using a US locale, it sometimes does not understand me. So I shift to an Indian locale and it does. So you got to factor that into.
That's right. There is accent that you can add it, and then that's a great point. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
McKenna.
Oh, McKenna. Gotcha. Thank you, McKenna. That's a great point. Yeah. All right, so moving to language. So sorry about that. Entity recognition shouldn't be here. Or maybe yes, it can. So there are certain industry terms that it recognizes, but mostly sentiment analysis, question answering, or those services that you can use to identify the commonly used domain-specific terms, and then detect sentiment and opinions from the text, and then create a conversational question and answer layer that can be integrated in your chatbot if you're building a chatbot, right? And understand NLP, which is natural language processing, and respond to the users. And then translator is a service that translates into various languages, over 100 plus, that it can understand and then respond in that language, right? So these are useful if you're building, let's say, your company Cantosa, right? Litware, global presence, and then folks, um, um, uh, let's take a hypothetical case, right? So your company is a global presence and your employees work to onboard agents, right? And it's a routine task, but you have to guide the agents to a successful onboard, right? So you can design a chatbot and that responds in any language to give them answers that you compiled ahead of the time, like FAQ. And then if they ask questions, doesn't have to match text to text, but even if it is related to it, and then detects the intent of the user, and then and answers it in that language. So translator is a great service in that regard to leverage. All right, so decision is something anomaly detector to identify a problem in the early stages. Can work in time series or batch data, and then the beauty is that that you don't have to know which algorithm to pick based on the data that you're using in your organizations. It automatically picks the best algo and then give you the results. Content moderator, it's something that if you have a petabytes of data and then you're processing it, and if you want to detect offensive, unwanted content, either it's streaming data or batch data that can be leveraged. A personalizer is something that you can, it's like Netflix, right? You watched this particular view, you might like these three, based on what you watched. So in the same way, personalizer is something that you can personalize the products or products, yeah, basically, and you can incorporate that. All these are individual components, and when you pull this all together and build a pipeline, and then orchestrate it, then they all really place well into it, right? So we will use at least a couple of these services to build a pipeline and see how that works.
I have a question on content moderator.
Sure.
Recently, I was in a project, and we had some like responses from customers to something. It was actually a demo on a conference in October, and there was a lot of offensive comments in this data set, and we were going to need to clean that up. I thought about content moderator.
Perfect use case.
Okay, let's do this. Except I run into an issue, which is I have hundreds of thousands of comments.
Oh,
And then the free version is like, I think 10 API calls per minute. I think the paid version was 100 per minute. So I wasn't gonna be able to do that. So my question is there a way to increase that threshold?
So if there is a soft limit, yeah, you can increase it. I would check if there is any.
And I think there is on those, yeah.
Okay.
And there is soft limits. So support ticket is the answer to your question. Support ticket, this is the rate that I want.
Sure.
And you may or may not get it, but depending on what you ask for. But
Yeah, right.
if
Okay.
it can be done, and there's a reason why they won't, you'll get what you want. We've seen that.
Thank you.
The personalizer affects all of us all the time if we're online. Because if you look for anything or buy a thing, you are then swamped with ads for similar things for the rest of your life. So,
Actually, I have a great example. One of my friend was saying he's trying to follow the T20 World Cup, and some of the highlights are. And one day he started seeing all these videos of some Pakistani kabaddi local matches. I was like, I don't want it. I have no idea how these guys are recommending these videos, and I'm not even watched it. And guess what? Then he realized the highlights that he's trying to watch is posted from a channel which regularly posts this type of other matches.
Mhm.
Then the thing that he also likes it.
Content recommendations. All right, moving to our favorite OpenAI, which is in preview. So it's you can using OpenAI can build very powerful apps with the large scale AI models, right? So we've talked about a whole bunch of Azure services, computer vision, custom vision, phase, language understanding, Q&A maker. On top of this, you can leverage OpenAI and combine in few cases, right? And build very powerful applications. So what's so special about this OpenAI? Like, why do I need to pay attention to this, right? So these are like, if you combine the power of OpenAI with Azure, you can scale it up to enterprise grade with a role-based access built in, and these are Microsoft already vetted like responsible AI to prevent misuse. If you have, let's say, few use cases that Azure built-in services provides, and then combine these to make your application even more robust, right? So what are the use cases? Like content summarization. Let's say you have an insurance industry, and there's lots of data or maybe pages of details that the appraiser collects, and then or another use case that software engineering. There is lots of data about the program, but you really want to quickly identify who are the actors and what in insurance case. You can pretty much ask the question, and then it summarizes it for you in a sentence or two, even though you have a large corpus. Seems to have a question.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. So when you say complex, right? I'm just thinking about what is that complexity means. So why can't the existing cognitive services, what is their limitations when it comes to the large complexity?
Absolutely. So OpenAI has the 4 models that are powerful that I've listed here. So Ada, Babbage, and Curie, Da Vinci, right? So if we can leverage some of the summarization with the Azure Cognitive Services versus using Ada, the accuracy in some of the OpenAI cases is more. And in few cases, cognitive services beat the OpenAI. So this is something that is no officially published journal available. So this is it's still in my exploration stage, right? So the thing is that these models works, but if you want to make it even more powerful, you have to customize them. You have to modify to fit your needs. So some of them are great. Some of them I would go with the built-in services.
So is it because of the content size, or for example, let's say you have a image orientation, lighting, and that kind of stuff?
Custom vision actually very superior in that regard, lighting and all that, right? You can eliminate a lot of noise in the background. So there is there is definitely a room for improvement when it comes to on both sides, which one you use, right? DaVinci is projected to be very powerful. It can do pretty much anything and everything that previous models does, but a model that's developed using DaVinci, Azure Services beats that accuracy. So it all depends on how use case, you approach the implementation.
So what exactly the model is? Is that the underneath technology?
These are algorithms.
Algorithms.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so the reason I asked is, currently what I'm doing is, working with the utilities company, and then, we are trying to detect the methane. So they do some testing, and then, they have pipes, and then they do some bubbles, and then, we need to identify the bubbles on the pipe. And then, it is identifying it using the computer vision, but we are facing some issues that, sometimes the bubbles is, the segmentation is wrong.
Okay.
So that's the reason I'm thinking about, is it the cognitive services or probably these OpenAI services can help?
So yeah, that's a great question. So these are built-in, pre-trained, right? So to fit that, it's really, you have to do a POC and then see what the accuracy. But based on what you're describing, it's a computer vision to me that it's better, close to the use case,
So when you say
addressing the solution.
when you say pre-trained, what exactly does that mean? Is that like you had already set up data, you trained your?
Exactly. So they trained on their own data, OpenAI, and that generally fits most needs, right? Because summarization, right? But data changes everything, right? As the data changes, your results changes. So there is, in general, there is, it works. If it works for you, it's great. If not, then bring your own data and then explore, accuracy and other items. So that in that case, you have to train the model because those are not pre-trained anymore, right?
So pre-trained as in, so you will have like various types of pre-trained data. I'll just give you an example. Like you have checks, for example, right? The bank checks. You want to pass it through all these data and determine like the balance or whatever the numbers written there, or like ICR, OCR, and you know the check account number and everything. So you have pre-trained data is as in you have such data available in your
On the OpenAI side,
available,
that's something you have to experiment. Yeah, I don't think so, but yeah.
various types of data.
Right, yeah, definitely you have to, each case is something that you have to explore and see how well it's predicting, right? But in general, the concept is that as you are applying on your data, is it giving the desired results for your needs, right? If not, then the default is, you go away from the default option, which is bring your own data and then upload the data set and then train the model. The base model is still the same and it doesn't change a whole lot, but it enhances to fit, the need, for your data, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
So the computer vision.
Yeah.
Azure computer vision is not using any of these models. It's a completely.
Not using any, totally different, yeah. But you can integrate these, you can bring these two together to see.
In the sense, take this model and then.
Yeah, combine into it.
So when third party brings the data and then they train their own model, does your AI or OpenAI takes those models and saves it to Microsoft's?
Yeah, so Microsoft's actually doing that, right? Microsoft invested in OpenAI, $1 billion plus, right? So those, if you go to direct OpenAI, there's a lot more algorithms over there, right? On the Azure side, there's 4 for now, right? So, and the reason why would you want to use these instead of going to OpenAI? Because of the reason you have combined the power of Azure and also implement better security, because you have a role-based access when authenticating. You can bring these two together to build a robust solution. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I was asking that, so the customer lose their data to Microsoft in any ways, like privacy or anything?
So is the Microsoft Store customer data?
Yeah.
So there is a.
Not necessarily the data, but the model. Like when you train your data, you are changing the model, right? Like you have that, whatever the model you have, you're changing the numbers there, not the data actually.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into there is a retention period. I think there is, I would look into that, definitely, yeah.
Just like who owns the model once you create a custom model on Azure?
Who owns the model, and also, is there any data that privacy rules or concerns and all that? Yeah. Great questions.
Quick question. When you say the customize AI model and fine tune the data, is it like it creates a new instance of service for just us that we train with our own data, and we just assure that it's not really piggyback?
Right on. Yeah. So it's your own data. It's limited to your scope, and then comes with a better security role-based access that you can control security, and then we will explore that as well. I don't have any data sets, but I can show you where to do that, and all that stuff. Yeah, but to answer your question, that data belongs to you, although it's stored in Azure Cloud. All right. So like I mentioned, these DaVinci is the most popular one. Most powerful one, and it can do everything that previous models like Curie, Babbage, and Otto can do, and most of them have a specific use case when you can apply those, and there are downsides, and there's up in terms of performance and accuracy of the predictions. And here is pretty much the same. We talked about the scale between capability and then inferencing time, right? How fast and optimally those models performs. So going to the reference architecture, like I mentioned, these are all individual components, right? So tying those together and then building an architecture. So here, so let's say you have your API layer, and then all the images are stored or in a location, and then building a function that can extract that and copy to a blob storage, which is it's pretty much like a storage area, and then if it is a streaming data, you can push it to even grade, and then have a function picks it up and send it to your cognitive services, in this case, custom vision, computer vision, and like those services. We're at the stage 5, and then pull the data, and then run the models on it, and then you can have a data science related projects over there, and then also store that data in Cosmos DB, which is a NoSQL type of database, which scales to the petabytes level, so you don't have to worry about it, and you can configure different consistency levels and isolation levels, and then run a cognitive search on such data, if you want to run retrieve the data, and then also make visualization available through Power BI, and then generate the insights if there is any issues using App Insights and log analytics. So this is one of the reference architecture, highly generic, but I try to include as many cognitive services and other how they can be integrated to bring a complete solution.
Does everyone know what all of the what a function is? Does anyone want to understand that? Lots of nodding. Anyone not understand what that is? Want Shas to explain it?
I don't.
He doesn't know.
I don't have a tech background.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can talk about that.
What's a function? What's a event grid? And what's a logic hat?
Yeah. So let's start with function. So it's basically a code that you can write, but it need a compute. Compute is a device, a server, right? So you can write code and say, okay, go ahead and execute it, but it's in a way serverless for users, for like us, right? So behind the scene, there may be many servers running in Azure, right? So you can write a code and then specify, I want this function to be executed when certain action occurs, right? So somebody places a file in the blob storage, then function triggers, or if the file is modified, you can specify, I want the function to trigger, and inside the function you have code, right, that executes.
Which can be script, like PowerShell, Python, Java, C#, a lot of choices.
If-then statements. If-then statements.
If-then statements, sure. In PowerShell, for example, or any of those languages, yep, sure.
And then let's move to blob storage. It's basically a storage area that you can store structured, unstructured, semi-structured type of data. So and then it comes in multiple redundancy levels, and then you can, meaning that if it fails in one location, and then you can retrieve it from another, and multiple copies are made available, so your data is safe. Let's see. We talked about the cognitive services. Cosmos DB is a schemaless database. So is it really schemaless? It doesn't have any schema. It has schema. It keeps the schema, but it's flexible schema. So if you're inserting, let's say, data with 10 columns, and then next data push from custom vision to Cosmos, and it has a lot more columns. So it's a floating schema, right? So it can still take all the data, unlike a traditional database. It's a fixed columns, fixed length, And if you supply any more than that, it just rejects that, right? It fails. Whereas Cosmos DB, it scales and both, horizontally or, to store such data. And then it's schema flexible. You have 10, 15 columns in the next row, it takes the data. That makes sense. And so Power BI is a visualization tool. It's like reports, crystal reports, that type. You can specify, hey, here is the data, go connect to my Cosmos DB, and then pull the data and then show the insights to generate actionable insights.
Excuse me.
Yep.
Do you get like our service for the disaster recovery? Do you have like multiple zones that you store the data in?
Absolutely. Multi-zones, yes. Yeah, absolutely. So most of the services, if not all of the services, are with the high available. So Azure, Microsoft SLAs are, for most of the services, 99.49s, if not 5. So they're highly available and reliable.
But they can be, is a caveat, right? So for example, Azure Storage on the bottom left, right there, you can choose to have that locally redundant, which means there's 3 copies of it, but it's all potentially in the same physical data center. Or you can choose to have it zonal redundant, which means there's 3 copies of it, but 3 different physical buildings, all in the same regions, for example, South Central US, in other words, here in Texas. Or you can choose to have it zonally redundant, geo-replicated, which is 3 copies in 3 different buildings in one region and 3 more copies in 3 different buildings in another region. And you have to choose which of those you want. And of course, there's a price difference for those, right? Same with web apps. You can choose to have it in different availability zones and in different regions if you want, and these other services as well. It's a choice, not necessarily comes that way. FYI.
Am I getting ahead of where you're going if I ask you what the 120 watt light bulb app inside is?
App Insights.
What is App Insights is your question?
What does it mean? Yeah, is it ideas that come as a result of this whole thing or what?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Yeah. So it's basically so this whole architecture, right? So like earlier, I'm sorry, I forgot.
I can take it if you want.
Right. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So App Insights is more of a developer-centric set of reporting, typically used and should be by developers when building custom code. Some of the services here provide native integration with it, like Logic Apps don't have to write any code with it. But as Shaz was saying earlier, the functions there, you write some code. It can be PowerShell, C#, Java, whatever it is, Python, whatever floats your boat. There's some code there. Right. And so as part of that code, there might be some if-else statements like he was asking, and there's going to be some stuff that's going to break, maybe. It's going to throw some errors, some exceptions, some stuff's not going to go right, might be slow sometimes, some stuff might break. You need to know what's going on with your code as a developer, right? How do you know to do it? Traditionally, there's a log file, okay? Right. But beyond that, right, application insights is a way of gathering that telemetry from how your code is running, how exceptions, things that are working well, stuff that you want to know, metrics, whatever it is that you care about, the performance and health of your code running in real time in production.
That doesn't, I just didn't get your audience for that. I was thinking.
Oh, so you're asking why is a light bulb icon?
Well, No, your explanation explains it. I thought, okay, is this going through all the data, running an analysis of the data and saying, hey, you should be looking at this, and here's our idea
Okay.
for looking at this, light bulb being an idea.
Right.
And
No,
you're saying it's for developers, and
it-
obviously I missed it.
it's not that. No, it's a reporting tool
No, you're
for,
good.
for code.
Yeah, I
It's a
was
good question,
going to say, earlier Ray mentioned, if something goes wrong, you will know it, right? So this is where you configure.
That's how you know the health, because that's another part of it, monitoring it, right?
Right.
As well as he was asking about if it's going to die and fail because if it's highly available. How is it performing in production? How's the performance? Any errors? Is it flaking out every 3 seconds because of something in here is not working, or the files are the wrong shape or size, or some junk, or they're corrupted? How do you know? And that's what those.
We used to embed analytics in our software long before any of this stuff here, to see how it was used, what sections were used most often, how people moved through the program in order to facilitate in speed increases and ease of usability increases. But long before any of this, it was all manual.
Thank you. I
Pain
didn't
in the
mean to
butt.
throw you off with my
Yeah.
question.
It's all good
It's all
discussion,
good,
Bill.
yeah.
Do you have any real world examples of this, Shaz? I've got one. I-
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
I did
absolutely.
a project that was something like this, that for those, if you're trying to understand how some of these bits, right, might be connected together. So I had a customer, they had a ton of old handwritten forms they've been gathering for decades, right? And they were trying to think of things they could do with it. So first thing was scan them. That was easy. Did that like in the 90s. Okay, so now we have PDFs of all of these handwritten forms. Yay. Now what? Well, OCR, again, not a massively big, not a huge challenge, but actually pretty straightforward to do with this. So the task became take all these PDFs by an automated process, millions of them, dump them on Azure storage, and then the code that you've got there would take the PDFs and slice them up, because PDFs, not necessarily the right, we don't want everything in them. We want to only focus on certain things. So a little bit of processing on those images before we then go and figure out what's on them. And that's what some of the code in the functions we had was done. And it was all event driven. So when an image dropped on Azure storage, that fired an event, which fired the function right there, which then ran some custom code that then, okay, this image, this PDF, what do I do with it? Hand it off to something else to slice it up. And then you've got slices for each page. And then each page then fires another event, which could be another function. Okay, I have one page, an image of my PDF. Then I send it to OCR and take that image and read some text on it. Okay, when some of this was handwritten, right? And then, so get the handwritten text, find dates, for example, find comments, find that, do other processing based upon that sentiment analysis on some of the handwritten text, looking for certain things that might have been written long ago, store it all, and then provide ability for humans to search it, which was as a website icon on the top right there, in order to look for certain patterns of data written by hand on forms long ago over a period of decades. And building that whole thing and providing that data was not that hard or that expensive. I don't know if that helped illustrate some of the, that's a real use case. We did that. May or may not have been an oil and gas company. We're in Houston, so pretty likely it was oil and gas, but Contoso oil and gas.
Yeah.
And of course, once you process the images, you get rid of the images.
Yeah, that was,
Because
well,
their images are not very spatial efficient.
well, you can, right? If you're storing on Azure storage right there, and you're not paying for high availability, like he was asking earlier, and there's a cheap archive tier, honestly, it's really cheap. So you can hang on to that junk for a long time. It doesn't cost a lot of money. So you can, that's okay, not a biggie. Anyway.
Do you
Go
have
ahead,
an
Shas.
example as in like the program that you implemented? We have Azure, sometimes they won't show.
We're gonna get into live
Oh, you're
demo.
gonna- okay.
Yeah, right after.
He's building to the demo.
Yes,
strategy.
So here is another architecture, reference architecture for chatbot that basically, we've talked about earlier. Global company, users interacting with the language understanding, with the basically providing answers to folks in different languages, and then mining that data. We're very close to demo and right after this slide right here. So we'll go to demo. So in this slide, what I'm trying to drive the point here is all these services are great, but as an enterprise, setting the vision and business strategy and having a technical and AI strategy is the key to taking the various capabilities of these services to build an AI capabilities, right? And various personas plays a role, such as line of business, CEO, CFO, setting the business capabilities, strategic goals, and then CTO and CIO plays the key roles in building an AI system, right? So it's basically a holistic approach in building AI capabilities and various roles plays. It's not just technical, but you have to build a solution that address the business problems. That way it gets widely adopted. And then there is acceptance of such solutions, right? To make use, to resolve the business related problems. All right, so now the exciting part, hands-on demo, and my mouse is still working, so that's great. So let's go ahead and get our hands dirty.
I'm not showing your screen, Shas.
Oh, it, oh, okay. So go to portal and then it just get.
It's secret.
It's back here.
I have a question. So have you guys seen any interesting applications of the Da Vinci model or the GPT-3 model, enterprise level?
Personally, I haven't. Yeah. And they're still in preview. So there's, more to come, and I have a feeling that the preview may stay a little more longer. Yeah. How do you share the screen here?
You are now. That's it.
Okay.
That's what we see what you have up.
So let's see if this comes. Okay. Great. Let's go to portal.azure.com. And so we'll use, we will explore the very first one, computer vision, custom vision. So if you click on the create resource, we will click on the AI machine learning, and then you can see all the services on your left: cognitive services, speech, language service, computer vision, translator that we've talked about, and custom vision. I have a business related use case, and then supporting images for the custom vision. So let's explore that. Custom vision, I'll click on the custom vision, and it will ask you what is the purpose here. Are we predicting or training? So you can pick both, and because we're going to do both, we're going to train the system and then submit an image to predict the result on it, right? So, and then as part of its subscription, I will select Visual Studio and then create new or pick the one that exists. So I will create a resource group or just keep it. Okay, so let's. And I will select the region in the East US 2, and then the name custom vision. And then the pricing tier, you can pick one of these two here. Each comes with its own limits, and we will go with the free version, but there are other options that you can pick, like standard S0, where you have 10 transactions per second. In this case, I will we will go with the free. And prediction tier, that is also go with free. Basically, we pick both, right? Training and predicting, so both require compute. And this is where they use the tiers to leverage the underlying resources. And then there are a few options here. You can review and create, and we'll skip that and then select review and create. What it does at this point, basically, it validates all the options that you picked, and then it gives you an option to create it, and click on the create. Basically, it creates the custom vision. Now we have a custom vision deployed. Once it's done, you will see a message that it is deployed. And while that is getting created, we will go to custom vision .ai and separate screen, and then basically this is where the training part and uploading the images and training comes. Once the model is trained, then you can deploy it and consume it basically, and draw inferences. So let's see. So custom vision is created now. Click on sign in, and I would use the same credentials. Basically, there are terms and conditions that you just click OK and agree. All right, so click on a new project. Once you're in this canvas, this is the custom vision canvas, and then you can create projects. And then the project here is, what kind of project are you doing? Classification is basically a yes or no, right? What type of is this a cat? Is this a dog, or is this something, right? Or you can also go with object detection, like Ray, you mentioned earlier. There are lots of items in the picture. I want to capture all those objects and generate maybe a thumbnails. So what's your project? Based on your project, you pick the type. So in this case, we're going to go with the classification. And what I've done is captured a couple of pictures that shows various pipelines that shows the corrosion level in the pipes, right? So if you look at this one, it's pretty clean, right? There's no corrosion at all. And there are other images with the heavy corrosion. So we will upload all these pictures and then train the model, basically telling the model that this is high corrosion and this is no corrosion. And then once you trained and deployed the model, we can start using those models to predict on the unlabeled data. So labeled data is that you have to manually to specify, and for custom vision, at least you have to upload 5 labeled images for either case. I guess it used to be 15. So our data set is going to be really small. And I'm sorry, earlier you mentioned what kind of category that I can pick, and there are several areas that you can pick and choose. If it is a landmark, or if it is food, retail, or in general, right? So you can pick and choose what type, but this is really not going to play a major role in accuracy. So pretty much you can pick any one of them. So we'll go with the classification, which we're going to predict. Is there a corrosion in the pipes or images that were taken? So project name, corrosion detection. I'll leave that empty.
Does the resolution affect the outcome?
Absolutely. Yes.
So for multi-label, you would have to draw a bounding box over each one of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you have to specify. That's one of the criteria that you have to select here. So the question is for multi-labels or multi-class, right? So if you have more than one picture, one object in the picture, you have to label them and then draw the area that, okay, so this particular area is this and this is this. And multi-class is that you have one picture, but it can be, belongs to multiple classes that you have to specify. So we'll go with a multi-class in this case.
I do have a question, I guess, about the corrosion. So let's say you have a pipe, and then maybe half of it's corroded,
Right.
half of it's uncorroded. That would be multi-label.
That's a multi-label and segmentation too. You can combine both. Yeah. So we will leave one picture for validation. We'll leave this because it's pretty badly deteriorated. We will select everything. And we will leave this for a good one. And then you have to label all of them. So let's go ahead and upload 13 files. And once you upload all of them, then this is the fun part, right? So you have to specify what is this. So I would say low corrosion or no. So we'll go with low corrosion. And specify that. Same thing, low corrosion here. High corrosion or severe.
Yeah, this is the hard part.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we automate this?
Unfortunately, maybe there is. But you definitely want to make sure that you got this part.
This part might need a human. Is
Yeah.
that what we're saying?
Yeah. All right. So we got all the images labeled, and we can see tagged items. Low corrosion about 6, and severe corrosion about 7. And once we have all these images and the system understood, and we will train the model. So you can click on the train, and then it will say quick train or advanced training. Advanced training is generally produces more accuracy, probably takes an hour. So we'll go with the quick training, and shouldn't take no more than 3 or 4 minutes. But basically what it does is it's kind of trains the model. So basically telling this is bad, this is good, or this is high corrosion, this is low corrosion, right? And training the model. And then at the end of the training, and this is where you can see your precision and recall, basically telling us that the training, how well the model is trained. You want to target precision high, and the recall also the quality high. So given, right, again, coming back to you, to your point, more the merrier, right? More data. But in this case, we have a couple, and I think this is the part, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, right? I mean, it's not enough data. So we will see. Well, this is running. Let's take any questions. Let's have a discussion.
If you didn't have such like a balanced data set, let's say you had like 100 images of non-corrosion and like 1 image of corrosion, does the model take that into account and fix the class?
Yeah, it's going to go horribly wrong. Yeah.
Is there like maybe like tools within there to fix like class imbalances, or does it?
There are options that you can play with, but generally you would want to have, for better, output, balanced data set, a mix of, different possibilities in your data set. And that's how, the splitting part, training data, validation data, and then and the data set to predict is really critical for that.
And you gotta be careful because he picked high corrosion and low corrosion, but there might have been some in there that are medium corrosion. And those seem to be subjective definitions of what's
Right.
going on. So how you break the stuff up has an effect on what you get back.
Absolutely.
And that's where biases get introduced into the system because of the way people categorize things.
The human element.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have like a golden ratio of like 70-30 or 50-50 or?
Some folks, my professor, he goes, recommends 80-20, but I go with 70-20-10. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
Technically,
rule of
even
thumb
if
I've
it's
heard.
corroded a little bit, it should pick that image as there's a corrosion.
Yeah, so
Technical, even if it's small.
Right.
corrosion is-
absolutely. And there is a segmentation that you can pick, even though it's one big image. In there, you can say, okay, this particular section has high corrosion,
Okay.
and the rest of it is okay. And then you can balance that out. You can specify that in one image. Yeah.
Can you like prioritize like a specific metric? Like I want specifically high precision and the model will tune it to be high precision or high recall or something like that?
Yeah, there are a few parameters that you can tune and play with those. Yeah.
I had a quick question, and I thought about it, I'm not in the project anymore, but it's still in the back of my head, is just being able to give it a bunch of tables and have it figure out a model. And so a lot of that being based on the records, how they match, what type type of data is.
Data-driven
types
model,
of measure-
yeah.
Right. What tool would I start with on that?
So cloud agnostic PyTorch is a great one to explore, but it's involves some coding. Yeah, that's definitely I would start with that.
And what's it called?
PyTorch.
PyTorch?
PYTORCT.
Oh, okay. Good. Thanks.
So we got our predictions. I mean the output precision. So it's okay, but you generally want to target really high. If you hover your mouse here on the precision, that will tell you, this will never tell you if the tag is predicted by your model, how likely is that be right, right? So you would want a high percentage here so that you're confident that your model going to predict the outcome on the images that you're supplying it. And if it is not really high, you can retrain the model, and then with the options you can specify, and then and look at the performance, and then retraining it, and then sometimes it involves relabeling it as well. So what we do is we will do a quick test and see if it is going to predict. So you can click on the quick test. So if you have all the images like stored, maybe some website, you can get the URL and submit here, and this, and then see the prediction. But we have a file that is stored locally. So click on the local, browse local files, and then pick the badly corroded pipe, and then click open, and then call prediction. So here is a bad prediction. So
It's wrong.
so it says low corrosion, and the probability is 52.6. So here is the trainer is bad, right? So I didn't do proper training. So this takes multiple iterations. That's why it's many iterations it will take, and then you just build on that until you're happy with. Okay, so this is the iteration that I'm happy with, and then I'm going to productionize that, right? Or I'm going to further test it. So let's test on the good one, and then see what the outcome is. And then it predicted opposite. So, and then what does it tell us? We do not have enough data.
Artificial stupidity.
So data, more the merry. So it recommends minimum certain images, right? So and then fine tune your model. So and then there's iteration 1. So this iteration is not going to production, right? Because this is not the desired outcome. So you go back again, and then train the labeling, and then process, you go through it. So let's double check if we got it. Low corrosion. Let's click on the low corrosion and then make sure everything is right. Yeah. Severe corrosion here. Yeah. So in this case, retrain, and then more data, and then next iteration. So basically that's the process, right? So this takes a lot of time, but once you got the accuracy, and then you can deploy it, and then make predictions.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Real quick, I was just wondering if there's a way you can say this is corrosion, this is only surface corrosion. Can you focus in on the image and just label that piece so it focuses on, in this case, a rusty hole,
Yeah, so yes, it all depends on the type and quality of the picture and how you take the picture. Some industries, they are using the drone technology to take
I know, but I
pictures
mean,
and,
Within the tool, is there a way that you can say, like, this is corrosion? This is just rust colored paint. And it's-
oh, okay, sorry, I see.
Yeah. and
It's
this is
quite
surface
wrong,
corrosion. This is broken through the surface.
Right.
This is gonna cause an accident. This is just like.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And Infosys did a study on RGB, right? Red, green, blue. They came up with certain numbers, extracting at the pixel level, and then published an article that can be done. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But within here, you're kind of, this is the image, figure it out. You can't, kind of, I don't know, point it at.
Yeah.
Examples of corrosion.
Maybe you could do the multi-label classification and throw
Right.
a bounding box around it.
And segmentation.
Yeah, okay, all right.
So another question, like if you train with like the same picture, one with corrosion and one without corrosion, will that have, like in that the middle picture, you can have
Yeah, that's
picture that is before it got corroded and then the after. And that gives a kind of difference between what is corrosion, what is not corrosion.
yeah. So that's a labeling process, right? So and that's, I think you two are
Yeah,
asking the
yeah.
same question. So you can pick certain parts of it and say this is not corrosion, and then another part, and then train the model. But basically, it all comes down to labeling the data and then training the system.
Yeah, what I was saying is like, say, you have that picture, like middle picture, right?
Mhm.
You can have same picture taken before corrosion with no corrosion at all. That does give a kind of
Contrast.
Does it give it an advantage?
any advantage.
Yeah, I mean, it should, right? I mean, it's generally, yeah. So it's if let's say a hypothetical company, they have facilities, right? So they constantly take images, right? So generally, it runs on the in this case, it's just because I don't have data sets, so
Yeah.
it's a wide collection of data sets. But generally, the facility operating is generally it's the same, right?
Yeah.
Over a period of time.
In this case, technically it should look at the texture of the picture and determine whether it's corroded or not.
It goes to the pixel level, yeah.
Pixel or maybe texture. Like even multiple pixels, but the texture.
I think it go by the color.
Color, I see.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between using, Azure Cognitive Services and then AI Builder?
Cognitive Services and AI Builder. So I have not come across AI Builder. Is that
This is my Microsoft product, Microsoft AI Builder.
I see. So yeah, I need to look into that. Sure, yeah.
An opportunity to learn something new.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So what is it?
Yeah.
So what is underneath technology? Is that deep neural?
This one, not sure. I have to look. Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't have put the top center picture in your heavy corrosion group because it's only the upper two pipes in that that's heavily corroded. The ones on the in the middle and the left are not that corroded. So
Yeah, I mean, we can, yeah, so that's, we can crop the images and then see. But like I said, this data set is not perfect, right? So this is, will require a lot more data. And then if we actually remove certain pictures and then retrain, we will get a different kind of results.
Sure,
I
of
wouldn't be
course.
surprised at that.
So will you be able to say, look at only the texture or look at only so-and-so of the picture or like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, so you can draw, sections,
Not just a section, I'm saying like the texture of the picture or sketch of the picture. Like you can, this image, technically you can convert that into sketch too. Sketch would be just outline of all the, what do you call it? Objects are there. That's a different thing than looking at the texture and tagging something, right? So,
Not sure I get your point.
yeah, so I'm saying.
What image quality there shows the corrosion? You know, what kind of pixel ratios of one color next to another makes it corroded versus not corroded? Something like
Yeah,
that.
something like in a picture, various aspects of it. It
Right.
can be sketch, it can be outline, it can be its color, it can be various things like
Right.
texture, smoothness, something. Like
So is there a way to pick up the characteristics of the image?
That I have not explored that deep level, but quite possible maybe, yeah.
Yeah, because that pipeline, that could be in the red dust.
Yeah.
You know? So,
So that, RGB is one promising theory that, that going by the color, levels, that can be, one, that, and definitely this is like, lots of noise in the pictures, right? So.
and I think some other metadata such as location or that would be helpful where they are located, so that
Absolutely.
takes in consideration the.
Shas, can you try a different classification like pipe and gear and other? If that
Yeah,
works.
we can try that. Yeah, let's try, that's a good idea.
Oh, yeah.
So if something's in preview, is it free to use or does it cost money?
It's, free to use.
It's free to use, okay.
Yeah.
So you can wipe out all the previous trainings and start
You can retrain, yeah.
retraining.
Let's pick, general.
How you have the single tag, and versus the multi-tag, and talk about the drawing. I know that you can just add multiple tags to those pictures, but is in here you do all that, does it allow you to do the drawing inside here as well? Or is that another tool you were talking about?
Yeah, that's segmentation.
Okay.
Let's see, general. And then iteration 2, right? So this is,
But you haven't
multiple iterations.
repicked the pictures and given them names like pipe and cog.
Yeah, it's basically changed at the settings and previous labels retains for the next iteration. That's a good part, right? You don't have to pick the labels every iteration.
So you did general 8.2 on the first one. Does that mean anything different from just general?
So yeah, I don't know if it is going to make a difference. Yeah.
Okay. So once you're, settled with the model that you like, how do you publish it and just make it easy to use?
Yeah, so there is a way to publish it, and then there's once you publish here, you can do that from here, and then and you'll get a URL, and then you can make inferences.
So it's an API, right?
API.
Oh,
It stands up an API endpoint that you can just
Post it
call
to.
that puppy.
Oh,
I don't know if I missed it, but in this process,
did you choose Ada or Babbage or Curie or Da Vinci in this?
No.
thing?
No, this is
Learning?
Azure side.
For those for Da Vinci and all that, the output is all text, right? It's not like,
All text, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Were you gonna demo the OpenAI stuff, Shas?
Yeah, let's do that while this is,
Yeah.
we have time for that?
Time check, I mean, it's 8:10. Had a few folks vote with their feet, so,
All right, so let's quickly go through while this is getting
start thinking
trained.
about lining stuff up.
Yep. So, going back to portal. So there is one Azure OpenAI because I've already deployed, but let's go to Cognitive Services, or you can type here OpenAI. And that'll give you an option to, and then basically create. And this takes about 10-15 minutes. So we'll use.
Just depending on when you got.
Yeah, so basically you can click create and then go through the process and then deploy it. But we'll use the one already deployed here. And so here you can get the open, go to Azure OpenAI Studio. All right, so these are the use cases summarizing the text or classify the text. And then other use cases that you can leverage. But if you click here, go to Playground, and that will take you to Azure OpenAI Studio. And quickly going over earlier, question came up that, hey, I can bring my own data, right? So you can upload your data set that if the predictions on the models, that pre-built models are not the way to go, and you want to train on your data, so basically you just upload data sets here, and then you can browse a file and upload data. But basically, if you click here models, and then that will show you all the models that Ada, Babbage, and a whole bunch of models that you can leverage here. And then if you go in the Playground, and then you can pick and choose. But first, let's deploy one. Create a new deployment. Then select the model. I will pick Da Vinci. Text. And then you can see here, it's good for complex intents and cause and effect summarizations, that kind of stuff. If you have like a case insurance file and then you want to summarize it to a couple of sentences, so you can pick this and then.
what's an example of like cause and effect?
So it's kind of like a logic, right? So if this were to happen, what will happen? It can give you that the home is on fire, the water is out, or maybe inside. The effects, right?
Gotcha.
So it can predict. So I will pick let's say deploy name. So what I notice here is sometimes the messages pops up and that shows as if it is failed, but I think that is not accurate. So if you see any deployment failures and it's behind the scene, it's still running. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. I noticed that getting few failures, but in fact, it's actually deploying it. So
That's what happens when it's in preview.
That's right. So just ignore it. And now we have a deployment, so go to playground and then pick the one that we just deployed. And then for the demo purposes, I will pick, let's say, classified text. You can classify, but the better one, let's see. All right, summarize text. So here is a neutron star is collapsed core of a massive Surgeon star, which had a total mass between 10 to 25 solar masses. So a whole bunch of blah 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 stuff, right? So I would put a question here: what is neutron star? And then click on the generate, and it give you the answer. And if you have a large document and for different use cases, legal documents, and then you want to find out details, you can just pretty much put a question, and then it will go through, and then it will give you results. And even if you don't have any questions, you can just summarize it, a page into like a couple of sentences.
Legalese to English.
Yes.
Something
like that.
That could be handy.
So this is the playground, but I guess if you deploy that, it would come up with
It
an
will-
API endpoint.
Right.
And you could call the API with the question, what is a neutron star? And it would respond with that text.
That's right.
So can you train your model with search engines such as Google or Bing or?
So using these models, Google's got BERT, and they have they little they have an ecosystem of their own. But I don't know if you can cross. I'm sure they probably you can.
And also OpenAI is now CP for that. So
Thanks,
Can
McKenna.
I check the section of images you can label?
So that's one. So let's see, if we go back here, our iteration, the training is still running. All right. So that's basically, one of the use case summarizing. And as you build more models, and then you can deploy and consume it using APIs or bring your own data and then train if that's the path that you want to choose to go. But that's in a nutshell for OpenAI.
How do you deploy it? I'm curious.
Yeah, so once you have a model, or if you want to go customize it,
Select it there and click deploy.
yeah, so can create, customize a model and then train the data, specify the data, which in this case, I don't have a data set.
Yeah.
Sorry. So, but basically validate it and then review and train. And once that's done, you can deploy it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shas, Adam, one quick question. When you're actually using the corpus that drives this question answer, is there a way to attach it to storage or the Cosmos DB or some kind of data store?
So is that during the so once you deployed it, right? And then make an API call and then extract the data. Yeah, you can divert that to a Cosmos DB if that's the path if you choose to go.
Yeah, I want to name that thing a service agreement.
Memorize those.
Yeah.
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 Do you accept?
Right.
Time check.
Am I really agreeing here?
So that's pretty much it, and we can
Okay.
take, yeah,
Okay, so
that's the last
demos
one.
you had in mind? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, we all want to see this other one, function correctly. There we go.
Yeah, let's see.
Show us the magic.
All right, so, well, it's actually, kind of looks the
Exactly the same.
same, right?
Well, actually, the AP is worse. Yeah.
What is AP? Accuracy?
It's let's see what it is. It's
Doesn't say what it stands for.
measure of model performance, summarizes the precision and recall.
Like an average.
It's worse.
Different thresholds.
It's worse.
So yeah, so the data is the training, right? Training is not good, and then the data probably, definitely need more. And that's the part I would focus, right?
So perhaps the advanced training might help,
Yeah.
spending longer doing it too.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. Yeah, that's another option.
Okay, all right. So any other questions? I think Shaz is at the end of his content, right? And I'm conscious of time. Everyone's getting late, everyone's tired. So any other questions? Otherwise, we can start thinking about wrapping it up. Are we all good?
I think we're good.
Did anyone learn anything?
He wasn't joking.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Shaz.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Everyone for coming out. Really appreciate everyone coming out tonight. The speaker for next month is in the room. Already there. He's going to do Azure automation in December. So looking forward to that in the first week, early in December. So we're going to do that.
I think.
And then actually in January, it's going to be on Avro. No, Aero in Azure. So we should have we've got some interesting content coming out. So thank you all for coming out and staying out late. Please help yourself to any pizza you want to take. If we can leave one pizza though, I want to give that to the security lady who let everyone else up. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.
Right.